What's happening YouTube? It's Steve from Drifter Gaming here today with another video. This time we're discussing my review for Sleeping Dogs. Now, with that in mind, let's begin. Sleeping Dogs came out in August 2012 and entered the open world crime genre, which was heavily populated at the time by Grand Theft Auto and Saints Row. It was a very difficult market to enter, and trying to compete with either of those franchises seemed like a pipe dream. Um, Particularly in mind, obviously, for how much of a juggernaut Grand Theft Auto is. However, Sleeping Dogs was a revelation. It was an open world crime game set in Hong Kong. At the time, was really the only sort of game that could compete with Grand Theft Auto, or not maybe not compete, but get close to it. Saints Row was sort of more a comedy style version, basically a comedy alternative to Saints Row, whereas Sleeping Dogs was very much more your mature, hard hitting game that tried to basically get as close to GTA as it could. And basically, it did. In all honesty, in my opinion, it did. Sadly, since its release, there's been no sequel. This is due to the studio being shut down in 2016, and the only upgrade we've had is the Definitive Edition, which launched in 2014. In this video, I'm going to discuss my review of Sleeping Dogs. 13 years since its release, and my experience with the game after beating it, its DLCs, seeing everything Hong Kong has to offer, and of course getting the platinum and the 100%. With that in mind, let's begin with the story. So the story centers around our protagonist Wei Shen, who is sent back to Hong Kong as an undercover cop to infiltrate this Sun On Yi, the most dangerous and ruthless triad organization. As part of this story, you will experience Wei's transformation from a ruthless cop to a merciless, unforgiving member of the Sun On Yi. Now, the story will take you roughly 15 and 20 hours to beat, maybe a little bit less if you skip your cutscenes. And much like a lot of the games from the Xbox 360 PS3 era, Sleeping Dogs didn't outstay its welcome and keeps its story on point, values your time. Uh, was the story at the time revolutionary? No, but it was fun. It was gritty. It was to the point and made you love its characters. It made you want to keep playing because it was fun. And with the gameplay loop, it was addicting. I've beaten it numerous times over the years now, and it never gets boring. It's still the same enjoyable carnage it was all those years ago. I want to keep this part brief because I really don't want to spoil it for anybody that's not actually played the game yet. So what we'll do now, we'll move on to the gameplay segment of this video. Now, the gameplay for me is where this game really shines. The martial arts, the guns, the brutality, the satisfying finishes that you can do from either a standing position or using the environment to finish off your opponent, like using phone boxes, using car doors, using sort of spikes that are sticking up from the floor. The way that you can execute your opponent's absolutely it's brilliant. Um, it really makes you feel like you're playing playing a Bruce Lee film, I guess is the best way I can put it. Now there's various jade statues you can collect, and by doing so you take those to an old friend who will teach you new moves, which are extremely fun to use on your enemies. The friend that you go to see will also give you sort of bits of lore from the story, bits from Wei's past, obviously sort of regrets from his friend that's training him, obviously because he knows what way he's going to be using these moves for. There's also martial arts clubs that you can go around, which basically give you sort of 6 rounds of varying different degrees of opponents. There's four, but I believe it's four martial arts clubs around the city that you can go to, which are really good and really fun. And yeah, throughout my 40 hours on this game, I never felt like the gameplay loop became repetitive. And that's thanks to its combat. Being able to mix up your moves really helps keep it fresh and keep it enjoyable. There are guns available. They're quite scarce throughout most of the game, but if I'm being honest, I never really felt the need to want to use one unless I had to really. You've seen it pretty much throughout this video that I'm using the gun. That's purely because it's part of the missions that I'm doing on this at the moment. That it was sort of a necessity for you to do it. The missions I'm doing is part of the Snake DLC. I'm just finishing up the game and I want to record some footage. There's nothing on here that will spoil that DLC for you. Um, yeah, like I say, there's numerous activities you can do in the world, from racing, finding collectibles to the martial arts clubs. There's also social club stats that are tied to that are tied to the trophies. Um, they allow you to mix up how you play the game. It keeps every session feeling new, to be fair, and it makes it stop feeling like a grind. And obviously, these social club stats are a grind, to be fair. But in all honesty, see by the time you've got to the end of the game, majority of them you'll have done anyway. To be fair, it's something that basically it helps every play session feel new. It stops it from feeling like a grind because like most of years, majority of the modern games that you play now do feel a bit grindy and they feel repetitive, whereas this doesn't. It feels new, and I think a lot of that is due to this, to be fair. For me, I love the combat in a game like this. It's something we haven't seen before, and it's something we may never see again in this genre. And I want to be clear on that. I know we've got Sifu, but I mean, for a game in this genre, it was something different because as much as I love GTA, pretty much GTA is literally run around, shoot everything in sight, move on to the next thing. Whereas this was a case of let's go in there, let's actually fight your opponent one on one. You don't need to use weapons, you can just literally go one on one, fists and feet, do that rather than having to go around and absolutely sort of blast everything. Don't get me wrong, obviously, yes, that is fun. But I just mean for a game in this sort of genre, I've never seen anything like this. The only other ones maybe like the True Crime series in the early 2000s on the PS2 and the Xbox, the original Xbox that is. But you don't really get that these days now. To be fair, moving on from the gameplay, I want to get onto the world and the visuals. The world is incredibly beautiful. 13 years on from playing this. I'm playing this in early 2026 now. So if you're watching this video in the future, it's the 17th of January that I'm making this video. The visuals still hold up. They actually make you think, do we really need the crisper visuals we get today when the gameplay doesn't come close to this? Because it really feels like in the modern world that we get these incredibly beautiful looking worlds, but the gameplay's so hollow, the story's so hollow, it just doesn't really feel like a fully fleshed out game. Whereas this did, it had beautiful visuals, the gameplay was incredible, and the story was good. Probably a question for another day, maybe. The world feels so alive. From vendors always reminding you that you aren't a real man unless you have a pork bun in your hand. The NPCs really making it feel like you are in Hong Kong, like the world feels so alive. People going about their business. As I say, vendors, of course, because anybody that's sort of been to these worlds, anyone that's been to abroad will know that if they know that you're sort of a tourist, they will do everything they can to get you to go into a restaurant, to get you to go and look at their clothes or whatever it is, because obviously they need to make money. So anybody knows that's what it's like, and that's exactly what this world world feels like. It really feels like I've just stepped off a plane and gone into Hong Kong, and it's I've played so many open world games as I've said before that are they're open and barren. They're beautiful, but they lack so much content to make it feel worth your time to explore. This, on the other hand, is completely the opposite. Um, as I say, it feels so alive. It feels crafted. It feels like it's made with passion. It's something we rarely get nowadays, and it's something companies, in my opinion, should look at as an inspiration when making their games. And I know there's a lot of anger at the moment towards Rockstar because of the lack of sort of interest from them in putting information out to the public and giving us extra trailers and giving us this, giving us that. And but you know full well when that game launches, it will be the best game of all time. It will be, or at least it'll be in the top five, because they make their games, they craft their games, they make them with passion. That's exactly what Sleeping Dogs felt like. It felt like a game at that time that they really wanted to make an alternative to Grand Theft Auto. You can just tell that the developers had been playing GTA games and they'd been thinking, well, actually, you know what? What if we tried doing this? And they thought, you know what? Let's have a crack and let's have a go. And it will forever live rent free in my mind that they never wanted to make it. Sorry, they were never allowed to make a sequel, and the studio was shut down. I'll never understand that. I really won't. When you think we've really with it is just GTA. There's nothing else around now that's in that sort of genre. Mind's Eye obviously was an abomination of a game. You've got Red Dead Redemption, but again, that's from Rockstar. What I mean is, there's nothing really that comes out now. I know we had the reboot of Saints Row. I enjoyed it. Obviously, a lot of people didn't. I enjoyed it for what it was. I was never really expecting a great deal out of it. Um, but there's never been anything like this, and that's what my point is. And it's a real shame that we've never had anything like this since. Moving on to the DLCs. Now the DLCs for me were a mixed bag. Now, obviously, the footage you're seeing is the Year of the Snake. The story for this is good. It's basically centered around cultists that believe that the obviously ties in the 2012 when everybody thought the world was going to end. Now they think that obviously the world's going to end, and that by them planting bombs around the city and trying to blow everything up, that they're basically effectively doing God's work and they're gonna guarantee themselves a seat in heaven. Um, Now that's pretty much your job is to go around prevent this from happening, arrest the guy that's basically brainwashing everybody. That story was good. The story was really good. I really enjoyed it, but the gameplay loop is the only disappointment for me from this whole game. It felt rushed. It felt like it was made for the sake of it, and for me, it felt more like it was doing mini side missions from the base game. It never felt like it was new or fresh or unique, and that for me was disappointing. Alongside the performance, but I'll touch on that shortly. The second DLC was Nightmare in North Point. That was brilliant. It was spooky, had a great variety of enemies, and a super fun story, basically centered around the main enemies in the game coming back from the dead. And pretty much you have to kill them and send them back to hell again. And it was brilliant. Like the whole of Hong Kong's been taken over. People are possessed. It really was good. Like it's only literally a 2 hour story. It's probably 4 to 5 hours if you go through all the trophies because you've got the social stats in this one, a couple of collectibles, and different sort of how to kill enemies with a certain weapon and to do different things. Also, I don't want to say too much. I don't want to ruin it, but it really was a great good experience, and for what it was, it's well worth. It's a decent bang for your buck. That's what I'll say. There are other DLCs that are in the game, but if you're playing Definitive Edition, they'll be tied in. They come up as an orange marker on your map, and it was racing and a Zodiac tournament. Now that was good. The racing was fun. The real one that shone out for me though was the Zodiac tournament because it felt like Enter the Dragon Bruce Lee. That's what it felt like. The way that they make the visuals on the screen feel like a 70s Bruce Lee film. It was really good. You go to an island and you basically have to take out all your opponents, but then you have to take out the leader of this island, who's a bit of a nut job, shall we say? But you have to take him out, and you have to obviously beat him, and that was just a really fun part of this game. And yeah, for me personally, the DLCs were good. Obviously, apart from Year of the Snake, for the gameplay side of it, everything else was really fun. Um, Now I only want to touch on to the only downside, real genuine disappointment for this game for me, and that's the performance. The performance on the PS5. Now I'm playing on the PS5 Pro. It's not great. It's really not good. Constant crashing to glitching. You may see it on this video. I'm not sure if I've maybe edited it out, but there is a bit on like obviously this Year of the Snake where I try and jump over the boat to try and get into cover and end up getting stuck. Now that's a constant theme of this game. It just really isn't optimized very well at all, and it's disappointing. Like I say, when you try and load the game up, sometimes it can take you 3 times to load the game up, go back to dashboard, load it up, back to dashboard, and then so on before you can actually get into the game. Purely because it crashes on you. As soon as you try to enter the game, it crashes on you. There's times where if I failed like a side mission, the side mission will just disappear. So I then have to load up an earlier save, go back and do what I was doing to then get to this because of that. And it's just a frustrating experience. The game in 2012, I played it on the Xbox 360, was brilliant. Really played well. It ran really well. Obviously this port doesn't. I powered through it as it's part of my games this year. Sorry, my goals this year. Alongside playing new games coming out, I want to platinum the GTA series. And I also want to go back and platinum some of my favorite games and improve my PSN completion rate. Because I've beat a lot of these games obviously, but I've not platinumed them or got them up to 100%. That's what I want to do this year. And I want to make it sort of something going forward. So I really wanted to get this done, and that's why I powered through it. If I didn't have any interest in that, and I didn't have any interest in trophies, I would suggest if you're lucky enough with obviously the pricing to play on PC, or if you have an Xbox, I know that's a rarity these days, but if people do have an Xbox, I would play it on the Xbox because for me personally, especially with Xbox's backwards compatibility, where they upscale it to 4K, and obviously they do their own thing where they make the visuals better, it's makes it so much better, especially if you're a first time player. Because I think this could ruin a lot of people's experience. Now, for me personally, I've played this game as I say numerous times before. I know what I'm getting. I still get enjoyment out of it. But for me personally, if you are a new player and you have the luxury to play on either of those other platforms, I would suggest playing on that. If not, and you can only play on PlayStation, I would say you pick it up. Obviously, you can from if you live in America, you can probably get it from a thrift shop. If you live in the UK, you probably get it from CEX for something like 3 or 4 quid. I would suggest go and pick up from there, because you can, unfortunately, you can't get it on the PlayStation Store. It's been removed years ago. I think if you go on the PlayStation app though, you can get it that way. But if you're looking directly through the actual PlayStation Store on the console, it's not available. But I would suggest, if you can pick up on PlayStation, that's your only platform, push through it. Just get past the performance issues, because it is something that you should experience. The film's meant to be coming out this year. It's definitely something you should play before the film comes out, because as we've seen, I'm not going to name it. Obviously, we all know what everybody's hatred is towards, but there is a certain TV show that's obviously had a second season and it's not lived up to the game. I would suggest, obviously, this is why I always say pick up the game and play the game first. Do not let the film. Hopefully, the film will be good, but if it's not, don't let that sorry experience. Pick it up if you can get it cheap, and then play it and just power through the performance issues, because the game is well worth it. And yeah, now I just want to get back onto, see, my final thoughts on the game. We'll see. Overall, I've had a great time. Going back to one of my favourite games of all time. This is definitely my top maybe 15 to 20 games of all time. From the story to the gameplay to the incredible world of Hong Kong, I've loved every second of it. It's one of my proudest platinums. It's 40 hours plus well spent, re-exploring a wonderfully crafted world, full of passion, full of love. I'm truly gutted we ain't going to get another Sleeping Dogs. Maybe the movie, as I say, can create enough interest to get the IP into new hands, give us the sequel we deserve. Time will tell on that one. I'm not holding out much hope for it, but hopefully it can. It's a fantastic time, whether you're playing it for the first time or revisiting Hong Kong. It's well worth your time in 2026. It's something you should have on your list to play this year, especially if you're like me. You're counting down the months, weeks, days, hours, minutes, and seconds until GTA finally lands in November. It'll help scratch that itch for sure. Yeah, as I say, guys, thanks for watching. Let me know down below if you're planning to play this in 2026. And if you could leave me a like and a subscribe, it really helps me grow the channel. I appreciate you all. Thank you for taking your time to watch this video, and obviously, as always, take it easy, guys. Until next time.